I'd buy that for $1. Hey guys. Hey Russ. Hey guys.
Correct temperature is 83 Fahrenheit and, oh great, moderately high usage. So it's going to be very slippery. Lovely. Well, I can't say that. A lot of my practice has been on much more lightly used tracks. So we'll see what happens.
Exit is clear. Don't cross the line. Okay, Glenn, we've got 2 laps to get the job done.
Got a weird thing going on with the VR right now. Maybe I need to reset my VR system environment variables, but the car is kind of slightly at an angle. Shouldn't affect the racing, it just kind of affects the angle that my head needs to be at to make the car and the horizon look flat. And maybe it's a little bit worse now than it was in the past, but now that I can perceive it a little bit more, it seems to me that it might have been getting ever so slightly imperceptibly worse for a while now. So that'll be something I'll have to do after this race. Definitely not something I can do anything about right now. Hopefully it won't affect me. And as ever here at Belle Isle, or most of the street courses where there's zero runoff and even the smallest mistake will often end in a crunched car because the walls literally are right there. Survival is goal number 1. Broke too early there. That's much better than too late. Much better than too late. Almost missed that corner badly. And there's something going on with my delta bar. It's probably set for the wrong mode. I'll have to fix that after qualifying's over.
P14.
Didn't get nearly enough throttle in there on that little short section. That was a terrible corner, but at least I didn't prang the car. I'm going to have to be real careful on that corner. Still don't quite have a good, solid braking point and braking references.
P12.
There's the flag.
Oof.
It's over.
Alright, first things first, change to the race setup. Do not let anything else distract me from that. 7.5 gallons. Alright, and then how do I check to see? That might be distracting. Should have thought about it before I exited the car.
Well, well done. Nice work, Scott. Thanks, John. Thank you for the setup.
Didn't take Ben long to get up to speed, did it?
Shit, Ben practiced this week.
Yeah, probably about 10 or 15 more laps than I normally would. And then John still beats me.
Well, I was quite a bit further off the
I think
pace
I've got
and
9 hours in this week. Don't feel too bad.
further off the pace in qualifying than I'd hoped. Let's see what happens. What I should have done is stayed in the car after I ended qualifying and adjusted my
Everybody remember your race fuel.
delta bar. Okay. 84 degrees Fahrenheit, moderately high usage. That hasn't changed. All right, Dad, if you're just joining, we have a 18 car field. I am car number 12, and I qualified number 12. So that's about where I should be, I guess.
One hand on the wheel, John, one hand on the dial.
Hoped to be a little bit further than that, but we'll see.
Just nestle it in your lap.
And the needle's in your mouth.
Yeah, just grab one when you need it.
They're making jokes about there was a meme going around on the Discord today about John having a voodoo doll, and I think somebody else started it, but
P12.
they got on the kick about John having a voodoo doll and using it to slow down his competitors. All right. We are in the Lotus 49 at Belle Isle in Detroit. Road course, as you can see, walls, walls, walls. There's zero runoff here. Anything you can do to stay on track is a good thing, even if it means dialing back your best laps just to make sure that you can stay on course, because any small mistakes, there's no runoff, there's no grass, there's no soft bits. You can see, and it's pretty much this way all the way around the course. It is wall to wall walls, which also means that if other people have issues, it's easy for them to just completely block up the track. Get a car or two turned around sideways on certain places, and it's going to take them a while to untangle themselves. And you try to not have hit them and hope that nobody plows into the back of you while you're waiting for them to clear. So, downside of qualifying so far down is I've got a lot more chances for chaos ahead of me. We'll hope nothing happens. Never hope nobody really comes to grief, but almost invariably somebody does. We'll hope to avoid it. Had a pretty good race last night. Stronger strength of field here tonight, of course, but I won't really have the pace
23 laps. The track
to do
temp is 29. The air temp
fourth
is
place
23
tonight,
Celsius.
but we will hope to
V12. Okay,
come
Glenn,
through
get ready.
unscathed.
Go, go, go.
Always alarming when the car in front of you doesn't get off the grid.
On your left.
Somebody trying to come
Still
by.
there.
That's Cam.
Clear left.
Not sure whether he lifted or...
Car right. Clear right.
Set all.
There's an incident here. Turn 7. It looks like Ross.
Clear right.
That's one of those examples
Incident in
where
turn 8. It looks like it's right.
we just got run over from behind trying to avoid. Let's see what the damage is. Oh, it's bad. Damn it. So frustrating. Tight course like this, of course, it's hard for the guys behind to see around some of these corners. It is so frustrating when you get taken out solely for having slowed down to avoid the wreck. I don't know who that was. I'm sure it wasn't intentional. I feel terrible, but that's what I get for not qualifying better.
It is 40 miles per hour.
Need to be able to qualify better, more consistently, be ahead of that kind of chaos. Fuck. All right, 2 minutes of repairs. We'll see how close to a drivable car we get, a raceable car. The good news was it was at least crabbable enough. I could crab it back to the pits without too much delay. It was definitely faster driving it back than it would have been towing. Another one of those examples, I'll have an opportunity to look at the replay afterwards to see what, if anything, there's a chance that I could have done differently to avoid that. So frustrating. I wonder if that was Matt. Matt's in the pits with me. I don't know. Damn it. I was looking forward to at least the chance of a good result tonight. If I really wanted to distract myself, I could hop out of the car while I'm in the pits here and take a look at the replay, but excuse me, plenty of time for that after. All right, 41 seconds left. Let's see. Doesn't look like there's any repairs after that. And technically, they're all optional repairs, which technically means they were less severe than the required repairs. Let's see how close I get to having a drivable car. And the bad news is I'm going to be about 9 seconds ahead of the leaders when my repairs are done, which means if I took off, I'd be at pit exit just about the time they come around probably. So discretion being the better part of valor, I'm just going to wait for the most of the field to pass. Because remember, there's still some question about how drivable this car is. Just because the optional repairs are done doesn't mean it's a perfect car. Technically, I can slide down here a little bit. I don't know, we'll give it a go.
Your exit's clear. Don't cross the white line.
Whoa, alright, the car is not straight. It is nowhere near straight. Alright, this may not be worth the risk. Jeez, what is going on? Good news is I've got a bit of clear track here behind me. A track like this, it's a dicey proposition even just to consider tiptoeing around the course the rest of the race just to recover some safety rating and etc. Because there really are no good places, with a couple of exceptions like these little hidey holes, this one here on the left, really no good places to hide when the cars come through and you want to let them by. Oh, you're gonna have to be real careful with the throttle on exits to the right, which of course, with a right-hand turning course, is most of them.
15th place.
Yeah, apparently that was Matt up there. That's that text message you see up there is a private message from him to me. Nobody else can see that but me. I'm sure he feels bad. I know we all get along. I like Matt a lot. He's a much better race car driver than I am. But we all make mistakes too. Whoa. Yeah, that one I have to be even more careful on. And it happens so early in the race. I'm going to get lapped like 1,000 times. It's annoying for me and annoying for everybody else who's got to figure it out too. I think what Matt's saying there is that he thought there was some space, and I'll read all that stuff when I'm done. I may not even decide to go full distance on this just because it's going to be so annoying for the guys behind me to navigate around me, but we'll see. Ideally, in this case, when you get punted early or have an issue, it's almost always best over the long term just to stay in the race, do your laps, putter around, turn more safe corners, which helps your safety rating. And the reality is, even though best case is I'm going to finish many laps down, at least 2 probably, maybe 3, staying in the race longer means that you technically might finish ahead of some people who later have an issue, crash out, and then disconnect. As long as you've completed more laps than they have at the end of the race, you'll finish ahead of them. So it usually makes sense to
There's an incident
stay
in turn 7. It looks like Porter.
in the race. And especially in this car, especially on a track like this, with me not being the greatest racer in the world, it takes all my attention forward just to drive the car. So when I'm looking back, looking in the mirror, checking the relatives so that I can be aware of when the cars on the lead lap are approaching, so I can make my plan, my overtake, makes it that much more difficult. Right now, Cam is 3.5 seconds behind. He's going to overtake me pretty quickly. Hope Matt realizes that I'm racing and that my silence on the text chat is not anger. I'm sure he'll look up and realize that I'm driving, but there's no worse feeling than know that you made a mistake and took not only yourself out of the race, but somebody else after what can be hours and hours of practice just to get there.
Blue flag.
I see him, Jim. Thanks.
B15. There's an incident in turn 1. We think it might be Ross.
Good news is a quick glance at the delta bar shows it's in the right mode, so that's good. Not really all that useful right now, simply because I'm not racing and won't be at race pace, but if it suddenly goes green, it tells me I'm somehow overcooked a corner or I'm not braking fast enough, so any little bit of situational awareness helps, especially with the car in this condition.
Incident in turn 3. Looks like it's Porter.
Probably one of those examples where Cam maybe just barely touched the wall, so no incident points on his end, but maybe the software reports it to crew chief as an incident and it gets reported to me. It's always nice to know if there's an incident ahead, but those little false positives are not usually a problem.
Blue flag. Incident in turn 5. We think it might be Ross. Blue flag.
It worked out pretty well. 12-second gap back to Miro. Gives me a little bit of time to make some more distance. The car is a little bit better now that the tires have come in, temperature-wise that is. But something's still bent on the back right. Or is it the back left? Actually, I can't tell. Maybe it's the back left. I have to be super tender getting on the throttle coming out of any right-hand corners, which is, as I said earlier, most of them at this right-hand turning course.
Alright Glenn, the next car is Porter.
Especially this high-speed one right there. If I drove that one anywhere near normal,
14th.
I'd end up a bug on the
Incident
left-hand
in
side
turn
wall.
4. It looks like Porter. There's an incident in turn 8.
Miro is not catching me nearly as fast as I expected either. And bad news for him is that definitely is not because I'm fast, so hopefully he's not damaged or something, but he's also consistently quicker than I am just about everywhere. Yeah, see, I almost overcooked the throttle coming out of that really slow, tight right-hander. Driving this car healthy's bad enough. Even more nerve-wracking And the car itself isn't healthy.
Your lap times are improving. This is good.
We're still 7 seconds back. Easy. Even more than normal, got to make sure that the car is very close to straight, if not perfectly straight, before I get on any kind of real throttle application. If I understood anything about car dynamics, I would probably be able to guess what the actual damage was based on the behavior, but that's a funny story. Or I should say a funny joke. I know nothing about car dynamics. If I did, it would certainly help me come up with a setup for the car that was right for my driving style. Instead of me having to adapt my driving style to whatever setup I can get.
The car in front of us is Porter.
Easy. There's a little drain culvert right on the apex of that turn that compresses the suspension. Here I go, talking about car dynamics all of a sudden. Compresses the suspension at the worst possible time for navigating that very slow, tight left-hander. The other technique thing I think I need to concentrate on is downshifting, blipping the throttle with my right foot. I think I vary the brake pressure at the same time, or at least when I am blipping, my brake pressure is less consistent. Maybe that's kind of like a pat your head, rub your tummy kind of thing. Must be a way to get better at things like that. There are still 3 seconds back.
Okay, Glenn, you're halfway home. Your fuel is fine. think P6 has binned it in turn 12. There's an incident in turn 13. There's an incident in turn 3. It looks like it's Henry.
Miro's still 2.3, 2.5 back. Expected he'd overtake me a little bit
Blue
faster.
flag. 13th place.
Easy. The bump pattern on that one, that short, sharp right-hander coming out of the fountain section, makes it really easy to lose the back end if you come into that one too fast. Because you need to brake pretty hard. And the road surface unsettles the rear and just
Yellow
lets it
flag,
step
keep your wits
out.
about you, mate.
Easy. Oof. Came real close to missing that one. Almost did it again. Bad news about being several laps down is you really never know how close to the end of the race you are. I wonder if there's a way for crew chief to give me that information. Never seen any settings, never heard anything about it, but it seems like it'd be a good thing to have, because even if I look at my lap counter, if I'm 3 laps down, when the leaders finish, I'm only going to be on lap 20. So without knowing exactly how many laps I went down, I don't really know how much longer the race lasts. And the last couple laps, it's a little bit of me adjusting, and a little bit of the tires coming in, a little bit of me relaxing, I guess. But I'm pushing a little bit harder, seeing some pace come back. It's always hard to know exactly what's going on with cars around you. For example, I can't just assume that if I'm holding Miro on a short leash, it's because I'm fast. He could have damage too. There's no way to know what his condition is. But with that disclaimer, I'm a little bit surprised that Miro's not running away faster from me.
P11.
The other thing we should expect is, as fuel burns
Okay, Glenn,
off,
the next car is Porter.
car gets lighter, so lap time should improve toward the end of the race, all things being equal. I don't have a good idea of what percentage or how much to improve, but lighter car is faster. I'm heartened by the frequent green sectors I'm seeing, so that's good. Remind me to move on the screen where my voice chat labels come up. It's too close to my eye line there. When it came up, what Michael was probably saying thanks or something to somebody. Keying the mic without saying anything is kind of a easy way to say thanks or go ahead. When it came up, I was trying to put the car perfectly alongside that wall at the fastest part of the front straight and alarmed me a little bit. The good news is, even though I've been checking on position of the faster cars on the lead lap behind me, the good news is the iRacing spotter is going to let me know with both a verbal warning, I think, and the blue flag, which means there's a faster, or in this case, a car that's ahead of you approaching from the rear.
2 laps remaining.
And that warning happens when they're 2 seconds back, which, assuming a relatively decent pace, is plenty of time.
The car ahead is Porter.
The other thing I started to say a second ago was, so it sounds like this is my penultimate lap,
Blue flag.
is that I've been getting smoother recently. I think just learning to drive the car a little bit better, being smoother with my inputs, and not sliding the car too much, heating up the tires. I think for a long time I was going into turns, corners way too fast, braking too little. Oh, missed that apex. Braking too little and too late, sliding the car through the turn, and that by itself I think was slowing me down way more than I realized. And then of course the result is that I have to wait much later on corner exit to get the throttle down. And that's really been hurting my overall pace.
White flag, 1 more lap.
And that's really just a technique thing that I probably should have been able to figure out, iron out years ago, because it may be exaggerated in this car, but I think it applies to everything. And I just didn't know I was doing it. Bad news about not really having any talent, not knowing anything about racing, and not knowing anything about cars, and not having a coach watch me and say, hey, don't do that. It's a bad habit that I've probably ingrained way more than is reasonable over years of doing it. But we'll see. There really are no epiphanies in this. It's all infinitesimal, almost imperceptible incremental gains. But hopefully, slowly, my pace is getting better.
Flick me over, Ben, will you? Okay, never mind.
Incident in turn 2. It looks like water.
Nope, no. This will be the one.
P11. That's it. We're done.
So close.
Good win, Nick.
Yeah, cheers, John. That was, yeah, that was to myself, see if I can still do it, you know? After 4 or 5 bad races.
I'm tired.
Yes!
Great race, Mr. Quentin.
After all that.
I don't know what they're doing. It sounds like they're having fun. Let's go drive around and see if they're still there.
Check that. I was going to
Oh,
plow into you at full speed.
I guess they've quit having whatever fun they were having. I usually drive a cool down lap or more after the race, especially if I've taken some incidence points that I'm angry about, because every corner you drive safely averages down, so your safety rating gets better. And the good news is, for the first few minutes, because the rest of the field gets to finish the race after the leaders, of course, first few minutes, the scoring stays live. And then eventually, once everybody's finished and there's I don't know, maybe a minute or two, then the session basically ends and the scoring stops, after which the incident points don't matter, all those kinds of things. So
Congratulations on your win.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks a lot.
what did our results look like? Mick, John, Ben, Gary, Neil. Okay. Hi, Claude, back to 11th. 3 laps down. Okay, well, let's go ahead and save that replay so we can watch it. We really should figure out some better control here for the streaming software and make a much better production. But you get what you pay for. My production values, you can hear me a little bit better now. My production values are pretty low. All right. Oh yeah, I see you popped in at 7:20, Dad. Are you still there? I haven't yet put that chat box back in my VR, so I can't actually see chat messages while I'm driving. All right, what's it look like? So as you can tell there with the big green and red letters, I gained a little bit of safety rating and I lost a little bit of driver rating. This tells the story really well. Dropped just under 2100 in driver rating and gained a teeny tiny 0.03 of safety rating. All right, so Mick and then John was 9 seconds back, so he and Ben had pretty similar pace. Gary was another 10 seconds back from them with Neil on his tail. Miro, who I was staying ahead of pretty well, finished 53 seconds back. Gary Ho and then Michael Grishinger, the last ones on the lead lap. So only 8, so less than half, finished on the lead lap. That's not a great percentage. As you can see, I finished technically ahead of some of the other people who bailed out later after my exit. So I would have lost more than 7 points if I'd finished way back here. So it's good practice and it's good for the driver rating. All right, so if you're still watching, let's fire up the replay and see exactly what was going on. Sounds to me like, what am I looking for? Replays. Sounds to me like Matt either checked up too little or he saw a gap that wasn't there. Oh, you know what? I did forget to actually look at the chat history to see what exactly he was saying, but I'll catch up with him on the Discord. And I think the replay will actually have some of that information there. So let's see what we see. I know the sound quality is not great when I'm on this webcam audio, but it's a little bit more designed for full room audio than the microphone that's in the VR headset. But maybe looking at the level bars over there, maybe I'll be able to turn it down a little bit, which will do two things. It'll probably improve the quality a little bit, but it'll also remove some of the background noise. All right, so let's take a look. If I zoom forward, there's qualifications. Wish I'd qualified better. All right, here's the race. Now, let's take a look. One behind me on the left is Cam. Behind me directly is Tim, Cameron Keel. Matt Wright is 4 positions behind me. Okay. He's usually fast, so maybe he had a challenge in qualification too. So let's see what happens. And I'm going to go forward back to me, so I'm just moving forward a couple of cars. So there's Cam. I'm the car just ahead on the right. So who was this that didn't get off the line? Dave Cohen. Okay. Definitely a series veteran, but you can tell he was late off the line and slow afterwards. So I actually lifted significantly so I wouldn't hit him. Glad Cam had the foresight not to dive in there. Cam's got really good situational awareness, it seems, which is kind of amazing because he drives on a single monitor, so he doesn't even have a whole lot of side peripheral. So it's impressive. I've seen him avoid some cars running up behind him just by seeing him in the mirror, I think. All right, so here's Tim, his brother. Everybody's pulling away, so I'm going to flip up here and look at me. So here's Matt. How did Matt get past? Now, I'm not surprised. Matt's a good driver. Okay, so he pulled ahead of Cameron. Cameron's newer. Took Tim over here on the outside. So he's kind of just off my left quarter right now. Again, I'm the car kind of 2 ahead on the right-hand side of the course. I think I broke a little bit early here. I think somebody was breathing down my neck someplace. And in fact, I almost overcooked it here. You can see I go to the outside of what I think is Michael Grissinger. Yeah. A little bit deeper than I would want to because I was a little bit faster. So if I go back a car, here's Matt. Yep, that's Matt. Cam, I guess, is behind him. So let's see what happens from here. So I'm 2 cars ahead. So Matt, that was who I heard. I actually heard Matt's engine here. And it's always a little scary. You know somebody's really close. Ooh, that was close. You know somebody's really close when you can hear another engine over yours. So I'm curious what the gearbox view looks like. Sorry for the random. Yeah, that was close. That was real close. Let's go half speed. No, it's quarter speed. Ooh, boy. Okay, that was close. I did not get even a 0x, which is kind of an inconsequential contact, but that was close. Now, out of curiosity, I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to go back to the overhead view. I'm curious if I broke really early. I mean, there's definitely a gap there. I probably caused that accordion effect by being a little too timid. Now, and I think in my defense, I was definitely approaching the car ahead. Who was that? Michael. But I was definitely tiptoeing, so fortunately I didn't cause an accident there. And then because he had to brake so hard, I pulled away a little bit, and here I'm back on Michael's gearbox. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go to the chase, and I'm looking at Matt here, so that's me directly ahead. So Matt's in the black helmet, I'm directly ahead in the yellow helmet. So if I scoot forward, and I think I'm here on Michael, so let's take a look at how this develops. So who was it? So 2 cars ahead. Scott Ross, okay, a new name. He raced, I think, last night. Did pretty well, I think, but maybe he's new to the car. So it looks like he just overcooked it a little bit coming out of this corner. He overcooked it, probably just too much throttle. Loses it, tries to catch it. Now let's flip back one more car, so I'm on board with Michael now. Loses it, catches it. In that time, Dave Cohen behind him doesn't have time to get out of the way, so they get together. And then Michael and I are right behind this. So at this point, I'm not braking yet, but you can see my brakes come on down there in the bottom left where the driver detail is. My brakes come on. Let's see what's going on back here with Matt. All right, so at this point, I don't get telemetry from other cars, so I don't know if he's braking, exactly what he's doing, but we can see the car movement. So let's watch what happens from here. I'm braking, slowing, Michael's slowing ahead. Okay, that's what he probably meant by the gap. And I certainly, at that point, I was focused ahead. I'm sure I didn't even see him coming. Yep. So, all right, so on the list of things I could have done better, A, I could have given him that space. If I'd seen him coming, well, let's see. At this point, Scott's still bouncing around. Dave looks like he's still rolling. I'm not sure how far Scott's going to bounce off the wall, so that's probably why I'm giving him some extra berth here. I could have moved left here. I could have moved left and given Matt the space. Oh well. And frustratingly, at any point, if I'd recognized he was there, I could have moved left. So, could I have known he was there? Damn it. I don't know. It's a tough one. So from behind, looking at it from Cam's viewpoint, spinning car on the left, Matt going for the gap, me not knowing he's there, or at least not being aware enough to get out of his way. He prangs me. He's braking at this point. And of course, Cam gets into both of us. Let's move back one more to Tim. Right on his bumper. Move back one more. Who's this? Cameron Keel. Cameron's got a real mess to look at. I'm slowly rolling backwards here. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but at least I wasn't moving in to the racing line. He slowed down pretty significantly. And here's Matt. And that must be Scott, our original spinner. Ouch. Okay, well. Let's run it back and look at what happens real time. So let's go forward one. Who's this? This is Cam. So this is real time. This is what I was saying earlier about getting turned sideways on the wrong part of the track. It's real hard to right yourself. And it looks like he took a toe, so that's frustrating. All right, so looks like Dave wasn't injured too badly. He did continue on for a while. Looks like he withdrew later. How far did he last? So he lasted, he did end behind me. He lasted 7 laps, ended 7 laps down. All right, so the takeaway is find a way to be more aware of what's going on immediately behind me. Bummer. Now, curious, I'll take a look at the end of the race. I'm curious if the replay captures the chat buffer. Yeah, I can see Matt. I don't know. I guess two sides of the coin. I can see Matt thinking that there's a gap there and wanting to go for it. I could have known and given him the space, but at the same time, lap 1, narrow part of the track. I think me personally, I would have tried to just stay in line, not shoot the gap, and navigate it safely. That's easy to say in the cool light of a review and not so easy to do in the heat of battle, but yeah, that sucks. And I know Matt will feel bad about it. We'll chat about it later on Discord. All right, is there anything else in that race that's worth looking at? I don't think so. After that, probably pretty uneventful. Looks like he might have, what am I doing? Looks like he might have bailed. How did he finish? Yeah, he disconnected immediately. That's too bad. Maybe he was too damaged or just didn't feel like hanging around for the repairs. All right, so let's keep going. How do I get back? Here we go. Some point in here, I guess the chat history is not saved. Huh, that's too bad. Wonder if there's any way to go back and see what it is he said. Oh well, it's not important. So I think that's everything I can learn from that race. There's a couple more things I want to look at in the results. So in fact, while we're doing this, I can shut down mixed reality portal so my GPU can quiet down and take a break. What are we doing? minimize. That's what I want to do. And then I'll, this is really quality programming, I'm telling you. I'll exit that. That'll ease things a little bit. All right, so what I was curious about was 131.8 was my fastest lap, which was, as you can tell, compared to Mick, nowhere close to competitive, even compared to the top 5, nowhere close to competitive. Horrible.
No?
Looks like Richard had an issue. He's usually always faster than me. Dropped out at 7 laps behind. And I, looks like, did not score any championship points. So this race didn't help my championship standings either. But the good news is it was enough, I guess last night's race technically was enough to put me in first place in Division 3. So, yay. "24 incidents in 125 laps. That's not great. The good news was at least this was only 4 incidents, I think, and that'll average me down. Yeah, 4 for the race. So that'll average me down. I think my average is still like 4.9, but that's literally averaged over 10 years of racing. So the average doesn't move very fast, very quickly. I can say, again, this is probably not very interesting for anybody except for me, but I can say that the good news is that over time, my average incidents per race has come down. So this will give my, oh, this is the wrong one. Where's the profile? This one? You can't see her, but the cat is sitting on top of my desk watching the mouse move around very intently, completely rapt, enjoying what she's doing. So for this calendar year so far, 39 races, my average incidents per race is down to 3.43. So, and that is almost, with the exception of a very short season in 2012, that's the lowest it's ever been. So that's good. I like that average. And then my career average is 4.88, which is good because I think earlier in the year I looked, it was 4.93 or something like that. So that's good. Okay. Otherwise, nothing really else to report here. Overall, a disappointing race. We'll hope to do better overall in the broadcast race tomorrow. All right. Thanks, Dad. I love you. Talk to you soon.
Were you talking to your dad the whole time?